Hello, good evening, everyone. Once again, myself, Ashar, welcome all of you once again to your NEET Bytes biology session. I hope so. All of you are doing well. Welcome once again. Okay, so yeah, with your chat, I can understand that you can easily see and hear me. So, everyone, once again, a very nice and interesting chapter that we'll be doing today. The name of the chapter is Morphology of Flowering Plants because we have already studied about the plant part, okay, the plant diversity, okay, and in which we have talked about many different categories starting from algae, bryophyte, pteridophytes, gymnosperms, and the last one and the most advanced one that we should study is angiospermic plant. Now, so I didn't teach you a lot of question from angiosperm from animal kingdom because you are going to understand a deep knowledge of angiospermic plant from various other chapters. For example, this morphology, anatomy, reproduction in flowering plants. So in which it completes your full understanding that how different angiospermic plant normally functions, what are their parts, what are their internal structures, as well as how they reproduce. So because the reproduction in flowering plants will be there in your 12th class, so it will come slightly late in the NEET Bytes. Okay. Today, we are going to start with a little understanding of morphology of flowering plants. Now, to start ahead, everyone, I'll just take a normal board, okay, and for all of you, I'll try to change its color so that it will be nicely visible for all of you. And here it is. So we are starting with morphology of flowering plants. And when we say flowering plants, we are synonymously talking about angiosperms, right? Okay, morphology of flowering plants. We divide the whole morphology into basically two broad categories or two for a common understanding. Okay, one is called the vegetative parts of the plant, and the another one is the reproductive part of the plant. I hope so. We all understand these two categories. To tell you a little bit about both the parts. So vegetative, those parts of the plant which helps not in reproduction. That's a negative definition. So basically they are the in if you want to understand, okay, if you want to understand, we also have a somatic cells, okay, all the body cells that we have in our in a particular organism, okay, in this case a human. Apart from those cells which take part in sexual reproduction or in reproduction, the rest of them will be called as somatic cells. So same that way, all those structures in the plant which do not participate in reproduction, or typically I'm saying sexual reproduction, because I'm going to talk about why I'm saying this sexual reproduction. So those parts of the plant which do not participate in sexual reproduction and they are there present for the normal plant growth and development, they are called as the vegetative parts of the plant, right, everyone? Next, as the word suggests, here itself, reproductive. Okay, all those parts of the flowering plant that helps in reproduction. Okay, it will be considered in this reproductive part. Now, as I said, the name, the word is important. Flowering plant. Okay, we call it flowering plant. So flower will be the very first reproductive structure, as we all know. So, but I'll start here from vegetative parts, everyone. So vegetative part, broadly I'll just divide into three categories. Okay, the very first one, so if you remember, normally we start with any life cycle of plant with seed, because it's an angiospermic plant, we can start from seed. So when seed develops, when seed germinates, right, exactly, the two parts in the seed, we call it plumule and radicle, right? Plumule give rise to shoot, and the radical, R for radical, R for roots. That's how we usually remember, right? Exactly. Will give rise to root, as I said. So these are the two basic parts that should be there in vegetative parts of the plant. So I'll just go and write it here. So I'll write first of all root, and then I'll write shoot. Some people call it stem. Okay, right. Stem. So you can say this if you see a banana tree or banyan tree for an example. Okay, right. So it has a central trunk, right, and then there are branches. So these branches, central trunk, all together will be called as shoot. Okay, right. You can call single branches and all of them as stem. There is a stem which can lead to a flower, a leaf also, but together we call them as shoot system. Like root system, same as the shoot system. And then these stems and all these things will terminate sometimes into leaves. Okay, or because it's common form, I'll write leaf. Fine, all right. Root, shoot, and leaf. This chapter talks about the structure, everyone. That's the reason this chapter needs a little more emphasis. The reason being, there is less concept, more of things which you need to learn, right? Which you need to. So it's very easy to first understand and then learn, right? Exactly. So that's what I'm saying, that you need to revise this chapter continuously, otherwise you forget, because along with the various examples of modification of roots, modification of shoot, modification of leaf, and their various other categories, for example, how leaves are arranged in the stem, how the different parts of shoot and root systems are there. Okay, along with them there are examples. I'll prefer, and for the NEET, understand this chapter and the examples from NCERT first and foremost. Okay, this is really important. We usually run for other books, missing the very important examples that are there in NCERT, because question asked from NCERT examples in NEET, from the 3-4 years what I'm seeing. Okay, they're directly asking question from the NEET, from NCERT examples. So why to lose marks? Right? So there is no point in losing marks. First, go to NCERT examples, whatever be the examples that are there in various categories, maybe in root, maybe in shoot, maybe in leaves. First of all, learn that. Then you can move ahead. I'm again saying, because it's a competitive examination, we don't want to take a chance. The very first thing that I always say is to complete your NCERT, that is your Bible. And then if you have a grasp of that particular chapter, then you can go and read about anything, any book that you wanted to read. But NCERT should be on your fingertips. Whenever somebody asks a question from the line of NCERT, you should answer it. That's a really important thing, that you just make it in your habit. Okay, now, okay, everyone, let's move ahead. Okay, same as that, if we talk about reproductive. Okay, again I'll divide them into 3 parts. Okay, the very first one will be your flower, right? I'll explain, don't worry about it. Okay, the very first one will be your flower. Okay, right. Now, again, if you all remember how we have differentiated gymnosperms from angiosperm, though they both form seeds, very importantly, they both form seeds, right? Exactly. And in the form of flower, they have their own structure that we normally call it as a cone. Okay, you might have seen in some hill stations, you find a cone-like structure, like a dried pineapple. Okay, so that is, you can say, a very common structure, which is kind of homologous to the flower of angiosperm, but still it isn't a flower. The reason being, okay, flowers should have certain characteristics. Flowers should have a certain parts. You know them as petals, sepals, androecium, gynoecium, or maybe carpel and stamen. So these parts should be present, or a group of these parts should be present, that classify yourself as a flower. Also, the main part of the plant is androecium and gynoecium. We call them as whorl, stamen and carpel, or pistil, you can call them. Okay, they produce gametes. Okay, and this is the important part of the flower. This is the main part of the flower, because your male part of the flower, that is androecium, forms pollen or the male gamete, and the female part of the flower, that is gynoecium. Gyna, we normally use this word gyna, and andro for male and female, that you all should know, right? Andro. Okay. If you talk about andro is the word normally we used in biology. Okay. That talks always about male. Okay. For example, I'll give you another example that's called as androgens. If you have studied them, maybe in your reproduction chapter, human reproduction, androgens. These are the male hormones, normally known as testosterone. Group of testosterone are there. Then we call them as gynecologist, everyone. Gynecologist, right? Exactly. So the female, normally those doctors who treat female patients, okay, that's gyna. So the word prefer, we use the word as gyna for female and andro for male, right? Exactly. Now, all of you. So here is the difference. Flower normally is helping you with the reproduction. And typically, I'm talking about sexual reproduction, right? We'll move ahead. Why flower is so beautiful? Because along with flower, inside the gynoecium, there are three parts, if you can talk about. One is your uh, style, stigma, style, and ovary. Right? Exactly. Stigma, style, and ovary. Now, ovary is that part that is your future fruit. So ovary develops into fruit, whereas ovule, that is there present inside the ovary, will develop into seed. Right? So these are the two another structure that is present as a reproductive part of the flowering plant. So I'll write it there here as fruit and seed. Right? So flower later converts into, okay, you might have seen a brinjal, everyone. Okay. You might have seen, a brinjal. Okay, right. We call them as bagan in Hindi, right? Exactly. So there is a stem there, green. Okay, and there are green leaf-like structure. Okay, and then there is a very beautiful purple color, succulent object, or you can say fruit here, that is called as brinjal. Now, that brinjal that has formed after the fertilization in flower, okay, converted into a fruit, okay, and inside the fruit you have found a lot of seeds. Taking the example ahead with mango, okay, right? Mango also, if you can see, that's an outer covering, okay. Inside that you will find a big seed. I have not seen, any other common example of such a big seed that you can find in mango. I think everyone has understood how seed should be present in a mango and how it looks. Okay, so they help in giving rise. So when that seed germinates, it will give rise to another mango tree. So that's the reason flower, fruit, and seed, these develop, and these actually participate in sexual reproduction. Okay, right. So that's the reason they are into reproductive part. Whereas root, shoot, leaf do not participate into sexual reproduction. So I'll explain why I'm calling it sexual reproduction. They do not participate into sexual reproduction, and that's the reason they are called as root, shoot, and leaf, and classify them into vegetative parts of the flowering plants. But you also know, everyone, that there are some techniques. Okay, there are some natural ways plant propagate themselves. Okay, propagate themselves without sexual reproduction. You know them in the form of layering, grafting, cutting, or layering, cutting, grafting. You know about them. What you call them in general? You call them as vegetative propagation. What do you call them? Vegetative propagation. Can you understand where this vegetative word comes from? Because right now, for reproduction, not sexual reproduction, it's just almost like a clone. Okay, for reproduction, you are using vegetative parts of the plant. And this is the reason it's called as vegetative reproduction, not as sexual reproduction, because sexual reproduction task is given to flower in a flowering plant. I hope so. You understand the concept. Okay. There are a lot of knowledge within root, within shoot, within leaf. I have given you a very short description of all these things, that what you should start and what you should need to learn. First of all, NCRT, everyone. Then try to do questions, and then when you see that, okay, fine, you have done a good job in NCRT, you can further move ahead, getting some extra knowledge. That's absolutely fine. But first and foremost, NCRT for all of you. What I'm trying to do here is I have few questions for all of you. Let us do it. Let us revise few stuff. Okay. And then we can understand what we need to study in this particular chapter. So you can move ahead and do it from your NCRT. So I'll start from the very first question, everyone. Okay. So please be ready. And here it is. So this is, I'm starting with the very general concept. So in a flowering plant, archisporium gives rise to. All those people who have studied plant reproduction can easily answer this question, because it's a development, okay, of your gametophytes, basically, right, everyone? So in a flowering plant, archisporium give rise to only the wall of the sporangium, both wall and the sporogenous cells, wall and the tapetum, and only tapetum and sporogenous cells. Those who have studied reproduction, it's just a bonus question for all of you, because you can understand this question both from flowering plants, reproduction in flowering plants, as well as in the morphology. Okay, so it's interconnected, you can say. So those who are saying both wall and sporogenous cells, they are absolutely correct, all of you. Okay, both wall and sporogenous cells. It's the development of male gametophyte, everyone, if you can understand. It is the development of male gametophyte. Okay, within that, the archisporium cell give rise to both the outer wall of the male gametophyte as well as the sporogenous cells. Okay, these sporogenous cells then later give rise to your various other layers, right, everyone? So hope so this question has refreshed your knowledge of the reproduction part of plant, and I'm moving ahead with a more intrigue question of morphology. And here it is. About this question is this part of the chapter is really important, yet it's very vast. Okay, so which of the following represents the edible part of the fruit lychee? It's a very famous question. Okay, it's a very famous question, because the edible part of the lychee is slightly different. Okay, you will not find the the answer here as you people saying D. Okay, the right answer is juicy aril. This is special about lychee, right? The correct answer is juicy aril. Fine, all of you. It's not mesocarp, it's juicy aril. Lychee, that's the reason it's a difficult question, you can say, or maybe a question which can be a little tricky. Do remember that in lychee, it's the edible part is juicy aril. And it's NEET 2005 question. It can be asked again. Okay, you never know. So please remember, these are the exceptions, or you can say special point that you should remember, everyone, regarding the, so simple, yeah, most of the fruits are your mesocarp is normally the edible part, but these are the exceptions, few extra points that you should remember, because in biology the normal question come from exceptions. Normal idea everyone knows, but where it makes a difference that you should know the certain extra qualities of different plants, right? Chalo, all of you, everyone, let's move up with the next question again. Here we are talking about another very important concept here, that is your, if you can see, this question is directly from the flower, right, all of you, and especially the floral formula, right? Floral formula. So you need to remember 5 different families and their floral formula. Okay, one of the example is here. It's a NEET 2006 question, and pentamerous actinomorphic flower, bicarpellary ovary with oblique septa, and fruit, a capsule or a berry, are characteristic feature of. Okay, right. Uh, if you understand, yeah. So if you'll try and understand pentamerous, okay, actinomorphic. So we can draw actinomorphic like this. Okay, and though it's not written, but usually it is bicarpellary. So we can write G2 here because there are two carpels. Okay, so we write G2. Right, everyone. Next will be you have an actinomorphic flower, bicarpellary ovary with oblique septa and fruit capsule berry. It's a characteristic feature. It's a characteristic feature of your Solanaceae, the potato family. Right, everyone. It's a characteristic feature of the potato family where I can move ahead. It is bisexual. Okay, the calyx is normally pentamerous. Okay, and fused. Okay, exactly. Oblique septa is a typical characteristic of this, and your corolla is also 5 yet fused, and again your androecium is 5. Okay, all right. So this is a typical characteristic of the plant, or you can say Solanaceae family, the potato family. That means everyone, you need to learn. You need to go through the 5 different families, 3 dicot, 2 monocot, and you should remember their floral formula. Some and all of them has some specific qualities. Okay, right. So that you should remember. In this, it's an oblique septa, right? So this is another part of this chapter is really important and can be can be asked like from this particular topic. Now I hope so you are ready for the next question, and here it is. Another very important topic you might study in flowering plants and you might study in morphology, that is called as adventive embryony in citrus, is due to. Now, let us try and understand the answer of this question. It's a very, if you remember the reproduction and flowering both, okay, you can answer this question very easily. The main answer here, the question can be, first of all, you need to know adventive embryony. What does it mean? Okay, what does it mean? Okay, so it says adventive embryony, just to talk about the formation of embryo directly from a diploid sporophytic cell, right? And you know what is a sporophytic cell inside an embryo, right? It can be a nucellus, right? It can be integument if they, right? But here, especially in citrus, that's the question. Especially in citrus, the nucellus will be part of the adventive embryony, and that's the reason the correct answer is A, nucellus. Fine. So main thing you want to understand, there are two concepts here, everyone. Please listen to me very carefully. One is adventive embryony. Adventive embryony is a technique, or is a process in flowering plant in which sometimes they form the embryo, a diploid embryo, directly from a diploid sporophytic cell. Like they take up one of the nucellus cells, okay, and they start behaving as a embryo. They starts proliferating, they starts growing and differentiating and form seed. This is this is a typical characteristic of adventive embryony. So that's why we call this process as adventive embryony. And in citrus, it's nucellus. Citrus fruit, lemon and oranges, these are the citrus fruit, these are the citrus plant, you can say. Okay, and that's the reason there their fruit, the edible part, or you can say the part which you can utilize, is leafy aerial also, right, everyone? So hope so this question is also understood by all of you. So I'll go a little further quickly so that you will get the answer. Now the fruit is chambered, developed. The fruit chambered basically developed from inferior ovary and has seed with succulent testa. Again, a question from fruit itself. Okay, fruit is chambered. Okay, the fruit is chambered and developed from inferior ovary. Okay, inferior ovary, and has seeds with succulent testa. That means, no, it's the word, this particular succulent testa na, this is the main crux of the question. When you find succulent testa, the one example that comes into your mind, that you can give me quickly, everyone. Succulent testa and tegumen is the outer covering of the seed. All of you, is the outer covering of seed. Okay, it should be pomegranate. It should be pomegranate, all of you, right? Pomegranate. Okay, so again, a question which got a very specific answer here. Okay, right? Because in pomegranate only, if you will see the outer fleshy succulent part, okay, is a seed coat where you find the water is filled. So you can puncture it also. Sometimes we play with it, pomegranate, the seeds of the pomegranate. Okay, and inside that you will get the seed. Huh? Inside that you'll get the seed. So the outer covering, the outer seed covering, testa and tegumen, right? Exactly. So testa is become succulent and filled with water. Okay, or watery liquid, you can say. Fine. All right. Okay. Now, quickly, last two questions, everyone. So the technical term used for androecium in a flower of China rose, hibiscus rosa sinensis, is A. Monoadelphus, B. Diadelphus, C. Polyandrous, and D. Polyadelphus. So this is also talking about the arrangement of, you can say, stamen, how it is arranged in a flower. So it's talking about that. And in China rose, it's typically very, very prominent example here. Everyone, just a second. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of answer. Shagun says A, and great, great. D. Some people are saying A, some people are D. Can you tell me why it is? Why, everyone? Why A or why D? You are saying very confidently. Why A or why D? If I'll say Polydelphus, then do you agree? China rose. Okay, so we can go with the answer. It's Polydelphus, everyone. Exactly, it's a China rose, and if you have seen that, all of them, it's fused. Okay, and that's the reason it's Polyadelphus. Okay, having more than one stamen in there. Fine. Okay, now everyone, the last question. One bundle, absolutely, absolutely. Filiform operators is a characteristic feature of very easy question. The last question is very easy, and you can answer it very quickly. This is a bonus question once again from my side and from NEET 2011. Okay, all of you. A zygote, B suspensor, C egg, D synergids. Okay. The best answer here, or the correct answer here, is D synergids, all of you. Okay. Synergids. Synergid has this filiform apparatus, and this is the reason why a pollen tube is directed towards the micropylar end of the synergid. That's how the pollen tube reaches to the reaches to the synergid part, right? Everyone, it's a chemical attraction, you can say. Okay, all of you, and that is the reason it's an important uh, topic, or this is an important question, both from your reproduction point of view as well as from your morphology. Fine. All right. So synergids, one of the synergids normally get destroyed while the you can say the pollen tube enters the embryo sac. Okay, all of you. So this was the last question that I have for all of you. Okay, hope so you have understood. One few more thing that you need to understand, that do go through the various parts of roots, stems, and leaf. There are various questions in them, as in flower also. Okay, so we have talked about here a little bit about flower, but you should not miss the vegetative part also, everyone. So I hope that the session you find it useful, and you have revised few of the topics that we discussed here. Uh, till the next session, I hope that you will be in good health and you will study properly. Till the time, I'll take a goodbye from all of you. Tada, goodbye, and sayonara.